Hi, good morning, or good evening, or as it is here, good afternoon. I'm going to look at why I like to use a 28mm lens for street photography in this video. This isn't to say that you should definitely use a 28 or that it's better, but I personally have the most fun when I shoot with a 28, and I think there's a couple of good reasons for that. And if you've never shot with a 28 or a 24 or something really wide before, you should definitely give it a shot, especially for street. There's a couple of really big advantages that it has over something like a 50 or an 85. So first and foremost, the 28 is very wide, and that means that it's very easy to zone focus, and I'll make another video about how I go about doing that. But basically, you're presetting your focus based on distance. So for example, if it's nice and sunny and I'm shooting at f8, I can basically have everything from 4.5, 5 feet away from me to infinity in focus. Or I could have everything from 2 feet in front of me to 3.5 feet in front of me in focus. And the benefit of that is I don't have to think about focus for the most part, unless it's really dark and I have to shoot wide open, or I'm trying to selectively focus on a foreground element, or there's other stuff going on. I don't really have to think about focus, which means that when I'm on the street and I'm walking through crowds, I can literally just see somebody and compose and take the shot without having to fiddle around with focus and make sure that they're all sharp and that the split image is lined up. Maybe because I wear glasses, but and maybe it's this camera, but the split image and the micro prisms, I find it quite difficult to see unless I stop and kind of think about it and shift my eye around on the viewfinder. I don't want to do that when I'm trying to be quick. So, as well as removing the necessity of focusing so that I can be quicker, the 28, because I don't have to focus, I don't have to think about focus. And I've noticed that, if you're out and you're shooting like a longer focal length, a lot of the time you kind of preset it a little bit, and then you'll see something and you'll go, I can't get that quick enough because it's going to be out of focus, and then I have to change my focus, and you end up not taking shots, which doesn't happen with me on the 28. I just tend to sort of fire away, and if it's a little bit out of focus, sometimes it's okay even then. So that's the one biggest benefit of 28 is it's super easy to zone focus. Another thing I really like about 28 is it's easier to get more stuff in the shot with a wider field of view, and I really like to shoot not really an environmental style, but I like to get some context and some background, and a lot of people say the word context, which isn't always the case, but I think it sort of allows you to pack more action in, and especially when I'm shooting in protests and demonstrations and marches and stuff like that, I just want to get as many faces in the image as I can, because you never know that like one character off to the side might be what makes the picture, and also it means because it's very wide I can get really close, and I like to get really close, especially shooting busy streets. I like to get like a foot away from people, like right up to people, because you get such an interesting look at them, and you also with the 28 get some of their surroundings, and it's not just like a portrait, it's a picture of somebody doing their shopping, but you can kind of get a little bit more oomph out of it. Another benefit of the 28, and this goes hand in hand with zone focusing, is there's a lot more depth of field. So as your lens gets wider, the amount of stuff that's going to be in focus at a given aperture increases, basically. There's a lot of physics that goes into it, which I don't really care to get into, but with the 28, the depth of field is huge, which sucks if you're trying to take like bokeh portraits. But for me, I like to have everything in focus if at all possible. I don't dislike bokeh and like nice blurry backgrounds. I mean, I shot medium format and that's like the bokeh machine, but when I'm shooting street especially, I really like to have everything in focus, because then you get the little details and the street signs in the background and you find things that you otherwise might not have. And I think it looks more like a scene rather than a photograph, if that makes any sense. Because of the zone focusing and the depth of field, and because I've been shooting 28 forever, I can see 28. I know exactly where 28 is going to frame up before I have touched the camera, which is huge because it means that I can be way quicker. It also means that I can shoot blind, which a lot of people don't like, because it's kind of like, like it's a little bit creepy sometimes and it can make you look creepy, but when I shoot blind, it's usually like I'm sticking my camera over someone's shoulder or something to get past a crowd, or I'll sort of be trying to get an angle that I couldn't otherwise get. Maybe I'm behind a fence or I'm too short or whatever. And because I know things are going to be in focus and I know that it's going to be wide enough to get everything in, and I can kind of, even at an angle, I can go, well, that's going to be in the shot and maybe that's not. It's a lot more versatile for me. It works with my brain. The biggest question I get asked when I talk about shooting 28 almost all the time is, what about 35? 35 millimeters is kind of the street photography focal length. It's what a lot of people shoot. And 28's only a little bit wider than that. But for some reason, a lot of people gravitate towards 35, maybe because sometimes with 28, you can be a bit too far away. It's a little bit too zoomed out, which is definitely an issue that I had when I first started. But the main drivers are, I couldn't find a 35 for Pentax came out for as cheap as I found the 28. I think the 35 can be a bit better shooting vertically because it doesn't have quite as much warping and distortion. But 28 I really like. I think just that extra angle of view means that I can pack more people into a shot. I can get closer a little bit, and I just find it more useful personally. So I hope that's inspired you to use a 28. Try one out. Let me know what you think. Some people hate shooting wide. Some people only shoot wide. I much prefer shooting wide. And I'll leave you with some very wide photographs that I've taken. Stay hydrated and create art.